Hello and welcome to the Toadstead. Well, what we got going on today is we're going to have to take care of the septic system for our temporary construction trailer here. And what you see in the picture there is the opening to the septic system that's over here. And basically where it runs is under where the trailer is now. And you can see the ditch from where what's left over from the ditch digging, and the septic tank itself is right there on that rather bare spot. Now, some things to consider when you're doing this is that you can't treat a construction trailer or like this or an RV of any type, you can't look at it as like a house, because while the Airstream here sits a good, if you think that the toilet level, which it is, it's right about here inside, and the distance and elevation from that spot to the entrance of the septic system is probably close to 4 feet, and it's maybe a 50-foot drop. So that is a heck of a downslope. No problem with anything going into the system having enough gravity power to get to the septic tank. The problem with an RV style, whether it's a construction trailer or a regular RV, is that they usually don't have a flush toilet that uses a gallon and a half, and some of the older toilets are even more, of water to carry the matter from the toilet to the septic system. This particular one here, if it's 3/4 of a gallon per flush, it's a lot. So what we're gonna have to do to keep things straight is use the holding tank. There's two ways, and I'll tell you why I picked mine. Okay, you could remove the toilet that's in there, put a house toilet in there, bypass the tank completely, which in this case would mean removing it, and then just use it like a house toilet. There'd be plenty of water in a house toilet to make this run, no big deal. Well, I'm not going to do that, because at this point in time, while the old Airstream here is pretty raggedy, it's a 74, so that puts it at what? 40 years old plus. So okay, we're going to keep it stock. So that means that what I'm going to have to do is monitor how much black water is in the tank, and then physically come back here, open up the trunk, and pull the valve to empty it, and just give it a little bit of a cleaning every now and then to make sure everything stays the way it's supposed to. Now, the other advantage to doing that is that the trailers from the factory have a vent, and that vents the system. Now, it is really important. You can't just throw these things together and have them all sealed, because when the poop in the septic tank starts to break down, and the septic tank does what it's supposed to do, it's going to create methane gas, and not a small amount of it. And that methane gas is lighter than air, and it's going to keep on going. It's going to keep on making more and more and more of it. It's got to go somewheres. If you go outside your house, you'll see these small black pipes sticking out of the roof. Those are the vents. Now, the trailer has that venting system built in. So, A, because I don't want to remove the tank, at least not now. B, because I don't want to have to build a venting system off of this hole right here, which I'd have to. And C, because I don't want to destroy the integrity of the trailer. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of use my septic system as basically a dump station. Now, fortunately for me, Airstream did separate the black water and the gray water tanks. If you're not familiar with those terms, the black water tank is what services the toilet. When you use the toilet, everything that you put in that toilet, which hey, if you're a RV person or a boat person, you know you never put anything in the toilet that hasn't been previously eaten. That is a big deal. You don't want to clog these systems up. Anyway, the toilet goes to the black water tank. That's it. Your showers, your sinks, everything else go to what's called a gray water tank. Completely separate system, although it is vented along with the black water tank. So, when I'm using the shower, the sinks or whatnot, it goes into its own tank. Now that valve I'll probably leave open most of the time. Most RV people will let both tanks fill up, and then they'll empty the black water tank using the valves I'll show you later, and then to flush the hose and everything that they're using, then they'll empty the gray water tank. And I think it should be pretty obvious to you that what's in the black water tank, it's nasty. Now, don't get me wrong, the gray water tank isn't something you want to go, get a lawn chair and sit next to the beach and put your feet in, but your shower water and your sink water are nothing in comparison to what's in the toilet. So you dump that first, and then you dump the second tank, and it cleans out everything. Keep in mind, usually in an RV, you have a hose that runs, pardon me, you have a hose that runs between you and wherever you're dumping, and you keep that hose. You keep it on board, usually stored in the bumper, right underneath where that cinder block is. On this particular one is where the tube storage is. But we're not doing all that. We're gonna use hard pipe. But you still got to clean it out every once in a while. And does that mean take it apart? No, that means putting fresh water down inside the toilet every once in a while. Run a little bit. Keep things sweet. It's just the downside of keeping the RV nature of the trailer intact. I do not want to rip this whole thing apart, and I just don't want the expense of a brand new toilet. And plus, I haven't measured because I wasn't planning on doing it, but I'm not 100% sure that there's enough room for a house toilet, even at all inside here. Like any other RV, space is of the premium, so the toilets are pretty small. You'll see that later on when we get inside. But for right now, I've got to start measuring and looking at how I'm going to do the pipe. Right in here, you can see there's little drips because I was washing it. You can see there, that's a piece of rubber pipe, a rubber connector that used to have, where you can see that rust spot, that's where the original RV coupler was. I've taken that off, and that's 3-inch pipe. So we're going to come out of that hole, through the hole in the bumper frame right there, and take it over to that spot. They'll be back. Okay, from this angle, you can see the pipe coming out of the back of the trailer, and you can see a couple of fittings. You know, this first one is the gray water, and then a little bit further down you can see the black. And I've got the cover taken off, laying on the ground there, and you can see what we did here. There's the original coupling that came with the trailer, and originally it went to a fitting, you know, the one that has the prongs on it. If you've ever done RVing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now that's been removed, and then this is what I ended up with at the sewer end. Now, see if I can back off a little here and show you that drop. The drop just from where the comes out of the tanks to the head, right there, is almost 7 inches. And heck, that's not even 6 feet. So that's still a pretty good drop right there. And because of that, I don't mind having this weird shape. Now, the shape has a reason. Keep in mind, this is temporary. This is not a permanent setup by any stretch of the imagination. And I wanted to be able to remove it. So what we can do is we can uncouple from right here, and then this entire apparatus screws like this right off of the entrance to the septic system. So while it's not perfect, while, you know, some plumbers might say, well, gee, you want to go straight, you know, one turn. Hey, maybe. But because of the angle, I couldn't get it. I was off by a foot. That goes way back to putting in the septic and then bringing the trailer in. Hey, we missed it by a foot. Oh well. Oops. But with a drop of that magnitude, I'm not going to worry about it. And more importantly, if for some reason I do get a clog, not only can I take this end completely off, but I can take that end completely apart. So, you know, we're going to call that good. I've already run the shower and all that, had no problems. So, you know, the big thing with putting in a septic is, you know, besides the obvious codes and all that, you want it to be sealed, you want it to be safe, and you want it not to stink. Which the only way you're going to be able to do that is to make sure that it doesn't leak and everything's set up. So, well, that pretty much completes the, I guess you call it the utilities to the construction trailer. And now we'll just continue on with more stuff. Thanks for stopping by the Toadstead, y'all, and we'll see you next time around. Fair winds.